we witnessed the opening ceremony of the Grand Egyptian Museum, attended by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and a large number of world leaders, heads of state and senior officials. From the operating theatre to the halls of history, few Egyptians have bridged science and civilization like Dr. Wassim el-Sisi. As the Grand Egyptian Museum concludes its magnificent inauguration, we're honored to have Dr. Wassim el-Sisi with us to reflect on what this night means for Egypt scientifically, culturally, and spiritually.
Okay.
Dr. Wassim,
Thank you so much. You want me to talk about the Great Museum?
As the fireworks cap a two-decade journey.
The voice is not clear. The voice is not. Please repeat it again.
Okay. Dr. Wassim, as the fireworks cap a two-decade journey, what does the GEMS opening symbolize for Egypt's culture identity right now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but this very night?
I think that the inauguration of the Great Museum, I call this day is the day by all days. It is a gift not only for the whole world, but it is a gift for the Egyptians themselves, because it creates the nationality and loyalty to the country. It is said that usually that one picture or one photo equals 1 million words. What about one statue? What about 100,000 statues in this museum? So the great effect culturally really is great, especially for our country and our people themselves, because Egyptians themselves don't know so much about their history. And when they visit this great museum, especially if presentation of every statue, there is a mention of, for example, Moses the third. It is not enough that we see the statue, but it is very important that we know that this great king, for example, we had an empire which extended to the north and to the south, Ethiopia, and to the west, Barqa. And he did not kill any of his enemies at all, and especially that he took the big boy or the big son and make him Egyptian spirit, and if the father dies, he sends the son to rule instead of his father. I would like to say that it is not enough that we see statues, but we have, like the Louvre, for example, you can ask the statue to tell about him or herself. That's why I propose that, for example, the statue of head of Nefertiti with a hologram has a place in our great museum and talks about herself, asking the Egyptians that she needs to be in her country once again in Egypt. This is, for example, and so on. So it is, I see, a great deed, and really, it is a great,
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi called the museum a living testament to the genius of the Egyptian people. How does that framing advance your long-standing call to restore confidence in Egyptian identity, sir?
a research work of three scientists in Cambridge, Mark Jobling, Luca Bagani, and Christopher. And this research was published in 2015. Research work on the Egyptian genes. And there is a chapter in the magazine saying that Egyptians and all of us as Asians and Europeans, since 55,000 years. The aim of this work was to know that Homo sapiens spread from Africa continent, was spread through Egypt, Sinai, Asia, and Europe, or was through Ethiopia, Babel, Mandab, Asia, and Europe. They found that Egyptian genes found in the Asians and Europeans, and so why you see this chapter, Egyptians and all of us as Asians and Europeans along the last 55,000 years, and this is mentioned in the American Journal of Human Genetics. The great things also by Margaret Kendall, which is an American genetist, came to Egypt here from since 1994, and she stayed for 5 years. And her work, together with a group of Egyptian scientists, Dr. Tariq Taha, Yahya Zakaria, Sumaya Ismail, Zahi Hawass, all of them concluded that 97% of the genes of Muslims and Christians are the religion first, then Christianity, then Islam. And the most interesting thing is that they found that 86% of the Egyptians carry genes from the family of Tutankhamun. So this means that Egyptians are the descendants and the offspring and the grandsons of those great people.
Sir, with 39 heads of state and 79 official delegations attending, what precise soft power dividends should Egypt aim to convert in the next 12 months? Culture, education, investment, or all of the three?
Really, I couldn't catch the question very clearly.
I'll ask the question again, sir. Sir, with 39
the voice is not clear. I don't know why. It seems something in the, the net work itself, The voice is not clear at all. It is, trembling or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, repeat the question again, but slowly.
Okay, I repeat slowly, sir. Sir, with 39 heads of states and 79 official delegations attending.
Yes.
What precise soft power dividends should Egypt aim to convert in the next 12 months from your own narrative and perspective? Culture, education, investment, or all of the three together, sir?
You mean that the 79 delegations coming from other countries, what we can offer them concerning the culture and things like that?
Exactly, sir.
The message which we want to offer them, the message is peace, and that civilization comes from the word civility. And civility is a dictionary word which means politeness, good manners, and treatment to others. Egypt hates blood. And Egypt is a country which wants to live in peace. That's why usually we are avoiding to be in conflict with other countries. And probably the last 2 years is a good proof for what I say, the diplomatic relationships between Egypt and Israel, between Egypt and Hamas, between Egypt and the Palestinian power, Mr. Abbas, Egypt and other Arab countries, Egypt and the United States, Egypt and Mr. Trump. You know, very good relations between President Abdel Fattah
Of course,
al-Sisi and
of course,
President
sir.
Trump.
Dr. Wasim al-Sisi, physician, scholar, and passionate guardian of Egypt's culture soul. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Your insight reminds us that Egypt's greatness has never belonged only to the past. It lives in the minds and hearts of those who keep its story alive. As the lights dim over Giza and the Grand Egyptian Museum begins its new life, your words capture the enduring truth of this evening, that Egypt's civilization is not a memory, but a living force guiding the world once again. Joining us now is Dr. Monica Hanna, a leading Egyptian Egyptologist and heritage advocate, whose work has been central to protecting and remaining Egypt's ancient legacy. On this historic night, she shares her perspective on how the Grand Egyptian Museum marks not just a cultural milestone, but a renewal of national identity and pride. A very good day, Dr. Monica, and it's a pleasure to have you with us on a very historical, special night. Dr. Monica, after, of course, you watched the celebrations and the inauguration of the GEM under, of course, the auspices of President Fattah al-Sisi, tonight Egypt unveils the Grand Egyptian Museum to the world. As an Egyptologist who has long advocated for heritage preservation, what does this moment represent for you personally and professionally?
I think it's a wonderful moment to have such an important institution start its own journey. And the beauty about the Grand Egyptian Museum that it does not have any of the past colonial legacies. So if we think about the Museum of Tahrir, the Museum of Tahrir was not really built for the Egyptians. It was built by the Westerners for the West. So it's very nice to finally have an ancient Egyptian museum built for Egyptian visitors as well as international visitors, and accommodates the space for such important negotiation of the past. I think also the Grand Egyptian Museum has great potential to be a beacon for producing knowledge about our past, for empowering Egyptian Egyptologists, for becoming a space where we can exchange academic information and produce knowledge, and also engage with the different publics of the museum, the Egyptians, the children, the senior citizens, the school children. And I'm really looking forward to see how this museum in 5 years could change how we think about our ancient past.
The GEM gathers over 100,000 artifacts, many restored and displayed for the first time. How do you see this reshaping global understanding of ancient Egyptian civilization?
Yeah, I think the conservators of the GEM are the best in the region. I think that they can also carry the beacon to help neighboring countries develop capacities. So I also think that the museum will not just be a space that holds objects, but also a place to do research about the different objects through their conservation and produce peer-reviewed articles and papers, and thus advancing our knowledge about the ancient Egyptian science and technology.
Okay, it's worth to mention that this project combined archaeology, architecture, and diplomacy. How do you evaluate Egypt's ability to balance international partnerships with national ownership of its cultural narrative?
I think it's in continuous negotiation, and it has always been. It started, of course, 200 years ago with more Western monopoly, but now Egypt holds the strong foot. And this does not mean that Egypt would just become the only producer, but I think it has changed the image of how modern Egyptian scholars are actually curating their past, and not just curating the objects, but also curating their international relations through such past.
The complete Tutankhamun collection is now exhibited in one place. What new curator or research opportunities does this unprecedented display create?
I think it's a wonderful opportunity to finally see the full collection together. And I would also call on the restitution of the Tutankhamun archive from the Griffith Institute in Oxford. Because if we bring back the archive, we can restitute the agency to produce knowledge about the different objects, although it's digitized and accessible. But I think the fact that if Egypt asks back for such important archive of the excavation of Howard Carter, I think this will put together the metadata and the objects together, which would enable many scholars, not just Egyptian, but from all over the world, to produce knowledge and narratives and interpretations of these fascinating objects.
And do you think it's easy and facilitated to bring for the archive from there?
I think so, and I've spoken with several of the people there, and they say we have digitized it. We can keep the digital copy and restitute the original archive. And I think this would be a beginning of the start of producing an Egyptian narrative about ancient Egypt.
And of course, that's great news. The gem isn't only a museum. It's also a scientific and a conservation center. How can Egypt leverage this to become a regional leader in heritage science and training?
I think this is very important. And I think this should be the true mission of the GEM. And I believe many of our neighboring countries would also benefit of seeing how the GEM fashions itself, that it's not just a display of objects, but it's a hub for academic research and a place that enables scholars to produce knowledge about the different pasts. And I think this should be done in collaboration with the different Egyptian academic institutions, as well as the international centers of Egyptological research.
Egypt is entering a digital era of heritage, 3D mapping, virtual tours, and AI-based restoration. What are the risks and rewards of this transformation for authenticity and public engagement?
I think the digital world provides a very interesting tool for reaching out to different audiences and provides accessibility for various audiences. And I think it is important that we can think of also NFTs, since we have proof of ownership of the objects, unlike many other objects that hold Egyptian objects. And I think the engagement with the digital world, I always say to my students that the digital world is uncolonized, it's ours. So we can produce different meanings of this past in the digital world and play with it, and provides a variety of narratives and interactions with this important past. It can be reached by people who perhaps have physical disabilities from reaching the museum. And I think the digital world is very important. If you look at any museums today and look at their digital register, it's also a great tool for us scholars. We use this continuously in teaching and instructions, and so it enriches the education for humanity, not just for the public who can access the museum.
Many Egyptians, especially the youth, are reconnecting with their identity through tonight's celebration. How can this emotional moment evolve into sustained cultural education?
I want to see that the Egyptians, of course, flocking to the gem, and I hope that one day we would also have like a free day for the Egyptians to engage with their past, where Egyptians can access the museum without paying tickets. I'd also like to see the youth engaging with the closest archaeological. So in every village in Egypt, I want to see a heritage activity happening that's connecting the younger generations to their past, where the different archaeological sites and museums all throughout Egypt become a public space where such youth can negotiate such important questions as identity, history, because through that, they can shape their present and future.
Beyond the spectacular opening that we witnessed all, of course, today here in Egypt and globally all over the world, what policies and governance models will be essential to keep the GEM dynamic, transparent, and globally competitive in the years ahead?
I think the governance policies should be through collaborative approaches with the different academic institutions, with the different NGOs working in heritage, that the GEM is not just a space for tourist visits, but it becomes actually the space where also the past and the present would meet. I think one of the successful things that the GEM has been doing is doing a fantastic art exhibitions that merge modern Egypt with ancient Egypt. And I hope it continues to do that. And I hope that the art also becomes part of the ancient Egyptian exhibition, because when art takes part in ancient Egypt, it makes it alive again, and it makes it more interactive, and it makes it more relevant, and it brings such ancient culture to the present. So I hope to see more of this. I hope to see more conferences, seminars, public lectures, activities for youth, activities for children that's continuously there. And also that it would open its gates also, and there would be a system where youth from University of Aswan or Luxor would also have regular trips to the GEM to continue this engagement continuously.
Do you think the inauguration of the GEM today would make youth or students in university think of being Egyptologists like you are one today? And is this one of your dreams? And how do you see the GEM inspiring, and how do you see it's enthusiastic, and to which level do you want the GEM to reach in the world? Of course, all over the world. We know it's it's the biggest all over the world today. But what are your aspirations and what are your enthusiasm for the GEM as we go on? And wanted today to be a hub, of course, not only for tourists, but also a source for economics.
Well, I became an Egyptologist because I love the Cairo Museum in Tahrir. So I think people develop such emotional relationships with museums, and I mean, I've developed that in high school. So I think I'm sure many of the students now who are preparing will also develop such important relations. And I think the new museology today also thinks about the sensoriality of the past. So how do we actually interact with the past through our senses, through smelling, touching, as well as effect. So I think if the museum continues this public interaction with the youth, many of the youth today will develop such positive relationship with the GEM, and of course this will affect their choice for becoming Egyptologists. And I'm looking forward to having more students and enabling more students to be excellent scholars in the field.
Of course, we await to have more students, and I just want to ask you a question. AI and Egyptology, they're going to be working together to make a better, of course, end result?
I'm sure this is very important, and with more Egyptian scholars also creating content, this will help the AI generate more nuanced information as well. So I think if the GEM also will put many of the objects and their descriptions on the internet and give have more accessible data. This helps the AI also generate a more nuanced and a more Egyptocentric view of the past.
Okay, finally, as the lights fade over the pyramids and this new era begins, what message would you send to the next generation of Egyptian archaeologists carrying the torch forward?
Well, my message to them is to keep visiting museums and keep studying and keep learning. And I wish them the best of luck.
Thank you very much, Dr. Monica Hanna. Thank you for your insight and dedication, and thank you for your valuable time and informative knowledge. And thank you for spending such a spectacular, of course, historical day in the history of Egypt again, the pharaohs, and and all pride, we did it again. And here in Giza, beside the pyramids, Egypt opens the Grand Egyptian Museum, the world's largest single civilization museum, unveiling the restored Ramses II, closest and the first full display of Tutankhamun's 5,000 objects, a new flagship for culture and tourism.